Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny is without a doubt an unmitigated flop to such a massive degree that the Shill websites are actually starting to call it out. And this is actually a surprise to me. Honestly, I didn't expect it to be this bad. I figured with the budget, it wasn't going to make a profit. $300 million plus budget, advertising, you're looking at $700, $800, $900 million. I honestly figured this movie would make closer to $600 or $700 million, come in just at breaking even or just under breaking even. But my goodness, as it stands now, the movie globally has only made $258 million after 2 weeks. And with Tom Cruise's, oh wow, brain fart, Mission Impossible movie, Indiana Jones is done. Dial of Destiny is done. Just look at the title from Collider. What Dial of Destiny box office flop means for the franchise blockbuster. No treasure was found in the recent release of the fifth indie film. My goodness, what does it mean? What it should mean is that the person responsible for this should be let go. And that would be all the way at the top of Kathleen Kennedy. Is that going to happen? Probably not. What you have to realize is that the people at the top, they take credit for all of the successes. Kathleen Kennedy, producer for this. Star Wars made $2 billion, although the sequel trilogy had massive diminishing returns, lower audiences, and yeah, lower scored reviews. And it's been continuing. Whether you like the stuff or not that Disney's putting out, less and less people in every instance have liked it. Go back to The Mandalorian. First season of Mandalorian was well received. Second season, pretty well received. Third season, not so much. Less and less people were tuning into these things. Kathleen Kennedy is the head of Lucasfilms. So, at what point do you, I guess, make sure she takes responsibility for it? If she's to be praised for all the successes and all the successful movies that she was part of, then surely she must take responsibility for the abject failures. In this case, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. And this other article, well, let's keep going through this one. It had a few nifty little titles. Why did James Mangold direct it? Because he wanted to. He thought he could make a good idea. Now this one, let's see. This one, I smacked again, good Lord. Premiering Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny at the Cannes Film Festival was misguided. No, it was not misguided. It was the most moronic decision that could be made, considering it was how many weeks? In May? Over a month ahead of the release date. This was probably a bad move. They were hoping that they would get better reactions from the French audiences, but according to reports, people were talking amongst themselves during the movie. That's the last thing you want when you're showcasing a blockbuster movie. What does Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny's poor box office performance say to Hollywood? Nothing, because they're not going to listen. They're going to keep pushing out just drivel, poor storytelling, decent acting, but if the storytelling, the pacing, and the length of the movie do not work well together, they don't mesh, then it's going to be problems. So let's see. Similar to DC's perceived financial assurance of Michael Keaton, oops, that was another box office disaster. Disney miscalculated the strength of Indiana Jones's brand. It's not just the brand. Indiana Jones is still popular. People still love the first three movies, next to the only three movies. People still love it. What you did with this movie was tear down Indiana Jones as a hero, as a character, as an admirable, strong male lead. And you put Phoebe Waller-Bridge in to try and replace him, to cut him down, talk about how old he is, and showed him broken and old. And people weren't interested in seeing that. So when the reports came out from Cannes Film Festival and the first few reviews came out, it was confirmed that this movie never should have been made the way it was made. What does it mean for Hollywood? Yeah. They're not going to listen, so it doesn't really matter. But here we go from Screen Rant. $250 million box office letdown completes Lucasfilm's 3 franchise failures. Finally, someone wants to admit it. Catching up with what people have been saying on the internet, on YouTube, getting quite popular for, what, a decade now? Box Office Hall signals growing frustration in how Disney and Lucasfilm handle their three most beloved franchises. Now, one of them, of course, is Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and Willow. Now, the original Willow, it was a wonderful movie. I don't know if I would call it a beloved franchise. It's a movie. It's not a franchise. How they tried to make it a franchise and failed miserably, so much so to the point where it was pulled off of Disney Plus. It wasn't popular enough to pay for the bandwidth on Disney Plus and server space. That is just... What do you say about that? Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny has made just under, no, as the time of this recording, it has made $258 million, so 260. We'll go with 260. Let's round up and be generous. With a budget of $300 million, this movie has not even scratched the surface of reaching the basic budget. And when the studio only gets half of the returns, because, hey, theaters got to make their money, oh, this is an absolute disaster. Potentially last. No, this is the last Indiana Jones film. They're not going to make any more. Let's see. After Willow's cancellation and continued struggles of Star Wars movies, there were 3 movies. Well, 4, I guess, if you count Solo. Rogue One. Okay, never mind. Oh, struggles of Star Wars movies. Lucasfilm seems at a loss for what to do with its most beloved franchise. Hire competent writers who are familiar with the canon, with the lore, with the characters, and who actually are fans of the franchise instead of people who just want self-inserts, ideological nonsense, and strong women, the Force is female garbage. Make it a hero's journey. Have a strong male character that isn't treated like an incompetent piece of shit. Don't make an insufferable male character, insufferable female character who just gets everything handed to them without any sort of struggle, any sort of failure that they can recover from, and maybe you'll get some people to relate to the character, to the movie, or anything. They have failed in doing this. Revived its 3 franchises. What 3 franchises are they talking about? Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Oh, we're going to repeat. Oh. How many times are we going to repeat this? I guess that's what they do. Oh, what does it mean for Lucasfilms? What does it mean for Hollywood? At least twice its budget to break even. That's not going to happen. Indiana Jones' disappointing box office signals a trend for other Lucasfilm properties and their reception over the past few years. Solo bombed. Rise of Skywalker's $1 billion box office was disappointing, especially considered the first one made over $2 billion. Diminishing returns, massive diminishing returns due to low box office draw and reception compared to its predecessors. That's because people were tired of seeing Mary Sue Palpatine. 2023 Lucasfilm's Willow series was also canceled after 1 season, and not just that, pulled from the streaming service. I'm sorry, how astronomically bad does a show have to be for them to just pull it off the streaming service? Blockbuster franchises in the 80s are simply no longer the exciting and innovative bullshit. They're no longer the exciting, innovative movies of today. If they are done properly, with good writing, interesting characters that aren't shoved down your throat, these franchises can still be successful. But when you put them in the hands of incompetent twats who don't know their ass from the hole in the ground, and all these, then you're going to have failure after failure after failure. Disney believed that all you had to do was slap the Star Wars logo on it and it would make bank. That's what happened with The Force Awakens. They took a movie, Jar Jar Abrams took A New Hope, changed a few things around. It's like copying off a kid in school. You can copy my homework, but change a few things around to make it look different. And that's how we got Force Awakens. Almost a shot for shot, and honestly, I didn't have much of a problem with that because it gave us slightly interesting characters in Finn, Poe, and Rey. At the time, Rey was slightly interesting, but everything went downhill when Rian Johnson took over in The Last Jedi and didn't get better from there. People got tired of Rey. They didn't like her character, didn't like her attitude, her lack of a personality. So this is what you get. Each franchise is plagued by individual troubles. Yes, the writers. Yet they share problems that put Lucasfilm and fans at a loss. Nope, there is no at a loss. Maybe Lucasfilms, because they can't see the forest for the trees. The fans know what's wrong, and they've turned their back. It is so easy to see over and over again, whether it's Willow, Star Wars, Marvel, Indiana Jones, DC franchise. You are trying to... they were under this impression that they could do it better than the creators, than the original series, the original stories, the original artists, authors, all those things. They thought they could do it better, but they didn't spend enough time on the story and learning why people enjoyed the original products and thought they could do it better. Kathleen Kennedy, the Force is female. Nobody cared. Nobody thought anything about the Force and what possible gender it could be. But you want to force that sort of ideological nonsense with your advertising, with your promotional material, with your constant speeches and the shirts and the promotional material. And you just turn people off one after another after another. And the same thing happened with Dial of Destiny. A female character inserted into the movie, into an Indiana Jones movie, that put Indiana Jones himself as a secondary character in his own movie. So, again, the reviews came out, people talked about it, and that was it. Dial of Destiny had 0 legs to keep it going. And that's how you get a $268 million box office on a $300 million movie. Heaven knows what the promotional budget was. A projected break-even point of $800 to $900 million. 250 after 2 weeks is not going to cut it. I legitimately never expected this. But what does it mean for Lucasfilms? We all know what we'd like it to mean. After 7 years in production, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny was marketed as Harrison Ford's final ride as the title character, and you shit the bed with that. That means its box office failure may not be as damaging to its future, since Indiana Jones 6 happening was unlikely, but Lucasfilm would surely have had hopes for more from the series in some ways. Maybe yet one more TV series of young Indiana Jones. Hey, maybe if you did it right, instead of killing off Indiana Jones' son off screen before the movie even began, you could have something. Recast the character of Mutt. Do a better job. Again, this all boils down to the writing, the directing. James Mangold is a decent director, but when he's handed a lump of shit in writing, there's not much he can do. Of course, what didn't help is the spurging out he did when people called him out on Twitter, on social media, and he lost his ever-loving mind. That resonates with fans. That's another thing. Stop insulting the fans. Jesus, blah. I'm done with this. The Indiana Jones box office, unmitigated box office disaster. There's no possible way this movie's even going to come halfway to breaking even. And it's unfortunate. I thought for sure it would break $500 million, but depending how long it's at the box office, that might be the difficult hill to climb. But let me know what you think in the comments. Leave a like, leave a dislike. I appreciate you making it this far. Have a good one.